Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Claudia-Liza Vanderpoy. I am a news presenter and what a week it's been. It has been a crazy last few days. All I asked was for people to be nice, but yes, hella crazy. But I thought for my next video, let me tell you how I became a TV presenter. So if you're trying to be a TV presenter, I've got lots of tips, lots of advice that you can take away from my journey. However, if you're not even interested in TV presenting, I think if you aspire to work in a very competitive industry, in roles that are tough to come by, that are few and far between, there is so much you could take away from how I applied to roles, how I got into presenting, how I developed as a presenter. So really good advice coming your way no matter what kind of role you're applying for. So let's do it. I'm going to actually go back to my childhood because a lot of things that happened when I was a kid actually informed what happened when I was an adult and why I became a TV presenter. And I think there are many things that I did as a child I went on to do as an adult, which really helped when applying for tough jobs and navigating around the whole industry when it comes to TV presenting. So yes, I really want to just talk to you about my childhood and, as I said, things that I developed then which really helped me as an adult. I was brought up on a council estate in West London by a single mum. My mum came from West Africa, Ghana to be precise, in the 1970s, came to the UK as an immigrant, and it was just her, myself, and my two younger sisters, and I was the eldest. And you can cancel any violins you might be playing right now because growing up on a council estate, it's not that deep. It was actually, I would say, wholeheartedly, I have some of the happiest and best memories growing up on that estate, being in that I was going to say duplex. Let me not get bougie on you. Growing up on in the council flat that had stairs. Yeah, basically, it was just, as I say, I have some fantastic memories, just being so happy. To be real here as well, that there were elements which were tough. You know, we were probably one of the first families in the early 90s to get a prepayment meter. I remember getting that British Gas card. We didn't have that much money. It was awful watching the pennies, literally the pennies just drop down when we were running out of gas or electricity. As the eldest, I would carry out all the chores. In fact, I probably would describe myself as the second parent in the family. But because of that, because I looked after my younger sisters effectively, almost as a parent, it put a lot of responsibility on me. And so when I was at school, I really didn't care much about my education. But I had one teacher, my English literature teacher, pull me aside one day and said, "You know what, Claudia-Liza, I think you're smart. If you just, maybe work hard, I think you can get really good grades." And with that, it completely changed my life, my attitude towards education. And what I did, I went away and learned as much as possible. And it started with academic side of things, right? So, I'd go to the library, there was no internet, right? So I'd go to the library to study, couldn't afford a computer. So I'd go to the library, I can use the computers there and of course, take out all the books that I needed to, or I'll just study because it would be quieter. And I stumbled across the Times Good University Guide, and I knew nothing about universities. This would have been, I think I would have been about 14 years old. I knew nothing about universities, certainly didn't know that there was, a so-called league table of what university is considered to be good. But when I stumbled upon it, I realised, and this is just so wild as a 14-year-old, I realised that there were ways to be successful, right? I realised that I went to a decent secondary school, and I knew that because I was going to a decent secondary school, I could go on to a good sixth form. Like, it was almost, the doors were almost open to me. And if I go into a good sixth form, I'll go into a good university. And if I get into a good university, somehow it would increase my chances of success. I'm pretty much figuring this out as a 14-year-old. So bear in mind, child of an immigrant. My mother was a nurse and then became a carer. She had no family or friends really who were professionals or who could offer me advice, and I had no idea what to do. And it became this mission to really figure out what I needed to do to become successful effectively. So yes, by the time I'm 14, I'm completely passionate about my education, and I'm also passionate about getting out of this environment of being really poor and just not having very much, despite the fact I was very happy. There were still so many challenges, just having nothing, not being able to buy new clothes. As I say, sometimes the gas or electricity running out. And also I would look at my mother, I'd feel so sorry for her. And I wanted to do as much as I could do to make her proud or even to provide for her. So something else very interesting happened. So I got my GCSE, did really well. And the moment I finished studying at secondary school, the moment I got my national insurance card, I was out the door looking for a job. I needed to somehow get money, any kind of money. And I went from this 16-year-old girl, never had a job, to getting every job on a high street. I worked in almost every single department store, retail store on Oxford Street. And it was so funny. I would have to, when I first started going for a job, I would have to write these cue cards. I'd write these cue cards, saying, when I was deputy head girl, this is what I did to get that role. Or if, why would you want to work for this store? And I'd have everything written out, and I'd sit on a bus reading these cue cards, getting myself ready for these interviews. And the more jobs I applied to and the more interviews I went on, and as I started slowly getting jobs, I threw away the cue cards. I was becoming more confident, of course, with how to answer the type of questions that people wanted to hear in an interview. And I managed, as I say, to get so many jobs. I managed to learn how to give a really good interview. By the time I was 17, I could go into any interview and I can get a job. So to give you an idea of the type of jobs that I had and how many jobs I was able to get, let me do an Ace Ventura breathing. So I have worked at Mark 1, Safeway, Sketchley's, Debenhams, Selfridges, House of Fraser, Barker's, Dickens and Jones, all part of the House of Fraser group, but different stores around London. I worked for Topshop. Did I say Debenhams? I worked for Harvey Nichols. Tried to get a job at Harrods, but they didn't like my braids. Yeah, true story. But yes, I found out about, working in the office and getting administration jobs. And so I began to apply for law firms, accountancy firms. I think I even applied to arms firms, legal arms firms, like Lockheed Martin. And again, I was able to go to interviews, to do really well and get these jobs. So when I did go to university, I decided to study history and journalism. I still had no idea what I wanted to do, but I was kind of thinking maybe presenting, and that's a very common, young person thing to do, right? You think presenting looks cool. However, again, going back to my school days, I was always great at public speaking, drama. I would be kind of like the class clown. Sometimes I would stand up and impersonate teachers, impersonate some of the nuns. I was just always just upfront, really vocal and just this entertainer almost, if you like. As I said, as I was kind of toying with presenting, and I took the history and journalism degree just so I could maybe look into journalism and see if I liked it. I'd always studied history, did it at GCSE and A-level, and so I thought, okay, well, I can get into a good uni, and reading so much, I heard, I was reading that to study, a good degree would be good to have. But when I did the journalism side of things, I fell in love with it. I fell in love with journalism, and I thought, gosh, maybe I could do this. I tried a bit of magazine journalism, didn't like it one bit. It was very much Devil Wears Prada. Do you know what I mean? Just took fashion, makeup, celebrities so seriously, and that's great if you can do that. For me, it was, even as in my early 20s, I just couldn't connect with that world. Went back to the drawing board and looked into it, covered a bit of news reading, radio journalism, TV journalism, and I liked it. I liked it. I felt like I'm finding myself. I think that's a good way to describe it. And I thought, you know what, maybe I could go into TV journalism. Yeah, let's do it, let's go. But then I fall pregnant. Yeah. At 24, I was working so much, so I had to do a year or two again while I was doing my degree. So at 24, I fall pregnant just when I'm figuring out what I want to do with myself, right? What a lovely surprise that was. But actually, I know people say this all the time. You're going to say, oh yeah, you would say that now, wouldn't you? Honestly, it was the best thing, absolute best thing that ever happened to me. My daughter, I can't believe it's going to be 20 now. What? Anyway, my daughter, when I saw her as a little baby, I was like to myself, it's real. You cannot mess up. No more getting distracted, no more, you don't focus. If you mess up for your child. You mess up for this beautiful baby who you've carried her, you've delivered her, you love her so much. The least you could do is get yourself sorted and sort your career out. And I went into super prime focus with my career. I'm literally starting from the bottom as a mother, and I was still like, you know what, I can do this. I can do it. I've done it before. I've been able to get jobs in retail, get jobs in the city. I was able to get myself into a good university all by myself, no help whatsoever. And I was like, I can do it. I can do it with TV presenting as well. So the first thing I realized I needed to do, again, had no idea how to get into TV presenting, had no one to give me any advice. So I thought I can find out myself. And so what I did, I looked at, the TV news presenters around, the most popular ones that, that maybe wasn't a household name, but they're still doing the job that I want to do. And I looked at their background. I looked at how they did what they're doing, their journey. So you could go onto a Wikipedia page, or you can Google, was it Google at the time? Yeah, Google was around. So you could Google newsreaders' names and you could find out details. And I wasn't being too picky. There were newsreaders who I loved and adored, and I found out their backgrounds. There were newsreaders I didn't know too much about. I found out their backgrounds. And what I saw was there was this pattern emerging. You could see that most newsreaders started in the region, started outside London. So you had people like Natasha Kaplinsky, who at the time was probably one of, if not the biggest news presenter at the time. She started in the regions, I want to say ITV Meridian. You had Nina Hussain, Kate Silverton also started outside London. And so I saw this pattern. I was like, all these news presenters, they all started outside London. And I had no idea why. I didn't understand. So I thought to myself, TV is really difficult to get into. There aren't many TV stations. However, radio is very similar to TV, right? Very similar, except for, without the pictures. And there are so many radio stations. You've got community radio stations, you've got local radio stations, and of course you've got national ones. And I looked at the list of radio stations, and I saw that many newsreaders started in radio before they went into TV. And I thought, again, you're going to copy that. You're going to do the same thing. I need to increase my chances of getting any role, whether it's going to be work experience or paid role. You start work experience though, isn't it, in the media? And so what I did, I approached so many radio stations. I want to say easily 50, maybe more. And what I found was every time you applied for jobs, it was probably 10% of the jobs that you applied for would come back to you, would say, I would like to talk to you or invite you for an interview. And so if I applied for 3 jobs, then of course that's like, less than 1. If I applied for 10, there should be a chance that 1 person should get back in touch, 20, 2 people, 30, 3 people, and so on and so on. But actually, the more roles you applied for, the more it actually increased the percentage in terms of who will come back to you. So when I did apply for 40, I would have about maybe 6 or 7 people come back to me. I would call the company up first before I sent my CV. So I would come up, look at the job. I would look at the job. I would look at the description, and I would look at what I've done either at university or if I've already been doing work experience, what I've done there. And when I would call the person who's dealing with the role, I would say, yeah, I've done this and I've done that. Oh, I love this about your station. I love, and I'll do a little bit of research on the company and just, do as much as I could do. So when I called them, they liked what they heard. And when I said, this is my name, I'm Claudia-Liza Vanderpoy, look out for my CV, more times than none, they will look out for my CV. And to call up the employer, to call up HR, to call up those dealing with the interviews, to call up the head of news, the head of the newsroom, significantly increased my chances of getting to the interview stage. And as I said, I did that with retail, and I did the same thing when it came to just going into my first roles in radio. TV was proving to be far more difficult to get into. However, I just continued doing work experience, and then I eventually, that work experience, which was free, turned into paid work. Not that much, but still it was something, right? Better than nothing. And as I got more experience, as I got better in my role, as I was able to add something with a bit more substance on my CV, I then started approaching TV stations, and I did the same thing when it came to trying to find out who deals with jobs, who dealt with roles within the newsroom, find out their names, give them a call, intro myself, tell them how great I am, how great the company is, how much I want to work for them. And this wasn't presenting roles, of course, this was, your entry-level TV roles. And by the time I did that, I was offered work experience at BBC London, CNN, just so many different places, but this was work experience. And when I did that work experience, I said to myself, girl, everything you've learned, whether it was from retail, whether it was from the office, you're going to bring that experience into the newsroom, and by the end of your work experience, you are going to get a job offer. So yes, I realise I desperately need some on-screen experience. However, remember, I'm a mummy, so I couldn't necessarily go out to London at that stage because, my daughter was going to school in London. And I still, however, needed to find a way to present, but presenting in London was just not going to happen. So what I did, I started just going online, and I knew that I was seeing clips of people presenting, and I knew that there were organisations that had these, these mini bulletins, mini reports. So like the Press Association, I found out they had a media team, and I saw that they were doing stuff on screen that you could produce, which was, I love producing, and present. And what I realised as well, that not many people knew about it. So I knew the issue with competing with so many other people was going to be less so. So I applied for a job. When I saw a job came up, and I didn't get it. But something I learned when I was applying for roles when I was younger and in offices and in retail, when you don't get a job, you can sometimes ask to freelance instead. And what I said was, oh, no, I'm so sad. I'm so sad. I'm really gutted. I really wanted the job. And, you know, sometimes the employer or the people you did the interview with, they would feel quite guilty. And it's awful. It's never cool telling somebody you didn't get the job, right? Particularly when you can tell they really want it. So I would say, look, you know, what about freelancing? Is that something you would consider? And because people, you know, sometimes can be guilty, they'll be more likely to say yes to that. So the Press Association said, yes, you can freelance. And it was amazing. I was able to produce. Most importantly, I was able to get some experience in front of the camera. And I was so bad. I need to try and I need to dig it out and see if I can show you it. I didn't smile. I don't know why I wouldn't smile. I would just freeze, just turn into this robot. And I was just so nervous. I was so nervous of being in front of the camera. You know, I had some confidence issues as well. And also, you know, I had this idea of what a newsreader looks like. You know, I was brought up on, you know, the BBC, right? And I would go to as many networking events as possible to try and meet, you know, maybe future bosses, people who might be able to help in my career. And when I was at Vox Africa, I was signed up to, you know, a group of journos giving advice on, you know, how to get ahead. And on one occasion, they sent an invite, or they sent an event going on at the BBC talking about regional news, local news, and, you know, it being in danger, or, you know, the work that needs to be done to improve on regional news. And what I always do when there are these networking events, I look at who's going to be there. And at this event, there was no one going to be there who would necessarily help me out. You know, there were no bosses, no leaders that was going to be attending. But nonetheless, because that goal, right, that going back to that 5-year plan, the goal was to end up at regional news, working in regional news. So I thought I'll go, because I thought it'd be really good if, you know, I managed to get an interview and I could say how, you know, passionate I am about regional news. And I'm so passionate because I went to this event, this networking event. Anyway, as it happened, he wasn't on the bill, but there was, at the time, he was head of BBC News in the east of England, and he was there. And oh my gosh, I think he was there supporting a reporter who was speaking, and the reporter named him and said, oh, you know, thanks to my boss for being here. Oh my gosh, the moment he said that, when the panel was over, I took a dive straight to this East of England leader and boss. And I said, oh, my name's Claudia-Liza van der Poy. I'm working as a newsreader. I'm working at Vox Africa right now, but, you know, I'm very interested in working in regional news. I really care about local news. And I think, in fact, before I went to go and chat to him, I asked a question. I made sure I asked a really good, poignant question. So hopefully this guy could hear that, you know what I'm talking about, and I'm really serious journalist. And he was quite impressed. He was really impressed with me. And he said, you know what, we could be looking for news presenters at Look East, which is the regional news in the east of England. And he said, look, why don't you come down for a screen test? I'll put you in a hotel for a couple of days. And yeah, we could be looking for somebody to read the news at the breakfast. And he said, yeah, come down, I'll put you in a hotel for a couple of days because I think we could be looking for somebody to read the news for the breakfast bulletins. Oh my gosh, I could not believe that I was being offered a screen test. I went back to Vox Africa. I was trying to improve as much as I could do in preparation of going for this screen test. Oh my gosh, I gave it my all. I still wasn't brilliant, but I was so much better to when I first started and was, stiff, not smiling, just really, really bad. I'd been working on it and I was a little bit better. And the editor said, look, you know what, we really like you. There's nothing going on right now. We don't have any roles right now. However, we could do. We'll keep your details and we'll get in touch. Oh, my heart. I was so sad to hear that there was nothing at the time. And I thought, oh yeah, sure, you'll call me back. And I was quite disappointed. I went back to London and I didn't think anything of it. However, a couple of months later, I got a phone call from somebody from Look East, and they said, we're moving buildings and we need our presenters to train in this new place we're moving to. Would you like to come and cover while our presenters are working elsewhere? I was like, would I? yes, I would. So I went down to Look East. I think it was the Cambridge branch of things they had, and at the time they had a hub in Cambridge and the main newsroom was in Norwich. They invited me to Cambridge and I did some cover shifts. So that is it. That is how I became a TV presenter. It was a lot, right? Gosh, just talking about it now, I really see how far I've come, what I've done, the amount of work involved. You know, it's so much more than just going in front of the camera and presenting. It really was something I worked on, as I say, as a child, not realizing I wanted to work in TV, not realizing I was going to be a TV presenter. But it really has helped shape my role today and shaped even how I develop, what I'm working on, who I look to for inspiration. But yes, please let me know what you think of this video. You can like, subscribe, sign up to any notifications. I will be doing so many more videos like this. One of the next videos I'm going to do will be on how you can become a TV presenter. I can give you more tips and advice on that. Again, anything you want me to talk about, let me know. Drop a comment and I will make a video all around it. But yes, thank you for watching and I'll see you soon.